What we're looking at is the first video game console that I ever had, a Super Nintendo. Got this in 1995. It's got a pretty classic game archive, if you ask me. Donkey Kong Country, love that game. Super Mario World. This actually came with my video game console. This being the first video game console I have, as you can imagine, pretty near and dear to my heart. The game console I'm using in 2016, however, is an Xbox One. Xbox actually has a design lab. I'll put the link in the description where you can go design your own colorway, your own Xbox controller. And I went with a Super Nintendo colorway. And I guess in this video I'm just going to compare to the Super Nintendo and talk about why I chose the colors I did choose rather, and just kind of showcase my new controller. Today is October 7th. Mafia 3 comes out today, so I'm going to put the batteries in this bad boy and break in that game with this new controller. It's not a perfect one-for-one replica of the Super Nintendo controller, and I will again go over why I chose the colors I did choose. The Super Nintendo, I got this engraved. It was about $9 or $10. Worth it? Yes. Again, if you've played Super Nintendo for any amount of time, I think when you look at this controller, you're going to go, hey, that's a Super Nintendo colorway. But for those who don't know, or just to give me, I guess, a smile every time I look at this controller, got that engraved. Now let's go ahead and compare. So the back and the front I chose just gray. Let's go ahead and compare the grays. Again, there was a darker gray, obviously wasn't right, and as far as I know, there may have only been 2 grays, so this was the gray to go with. The next big thing is the bumpers. As you can see on the Super Nintendo, the bumpers are just the same gray. I could have done that, but, I mean, come on now. I mean, yes, I could have made that gray, but having only, now granted, there isn't a lot of purple on this controller, right? Just the buttons, so there's not a lot of purple. So if I would have made that gray and just kept this purple, it would have been, a closer representation of the controller. But you've got to admit that looks cool. The contrast with the analog sticks with the triggers. Plus, the way I see it, these buttons are the most important part of this controller. In my eyes, I guess besides the D-pad moving, but this is where the action is. This is where the action is. So yeah. Now, another thing to point out is there's no analog sticks on the Super Nintendo, so I had to choose, and yeah, like similar to this is where the action is, this is where the action is, so that's why I made those purple. Now, if you look at the D-pad and the buttons, the select and start button here, they're actually like a really dark gray. I could have made these, the D-pad, start buttons, menu buttons, and the letter buttons, I could have made those gray with black letters, I think. The reason I didn't is it was just too much gray. The gray on gray, this is like a really dark gray, so I guess it contrasts nice. I'm pretty sure the gray, the option I had, it was just too gray, the gray on gray. So that's why I went with black. Again, if you look at this in the dark, you'd probably say these were black anyway, so that's why I went with black instead of gray buttons. Yeah, I guess that's about it. That's why I chose. So purple where I did, because that's where the action is. Gray, closest representation. And the black buttons I think look really great. And then that engraving. Let's see if I can compare it to the engraving. Yeah, baby. Money shot. Check that out. So yeah, just wanted to show off my new controller. Wireless 2016, 1995. Look, I don't even have batteries in this, and this is heavier than the Super Nintendo controller. I think the people who have experience with both consoles would go, duh. think about all the technology that's in this controller that isn't in this controller. It's cool to think about. But anyway, there. Just a quick video. Again, if you want to go play around, make your own Xbox controller, go check out that design lab. My Xbox name is the same as my YouTube name, Spider-Man BCS. I made a few different colorways. I'm not sure if you can go search my name and see my controller colorways or designs, but I do know there's a place where you can check out like the community and like recent controllers and stuff. But yeah, there's cool stuff out there. So thumbs up for the Super Nintendo, thumbs up for Xbox One, double thumbs up for the design lab. It's pretty cool. I'm excited to again break in Mafia 3 with the Super Nintendo 2016 Xbox Design Lab controller.